Writers, this past week, we spent a substantial amount of time in our notebooks collecting entries. We tried out new ideas, we experimented with new forms, and we brainstormed a lot of blurbs about potential stories. Some of you may take these ideas and build them into larger projects throughout the course of this year. Maybe you'll write a novel, or maybe you'll write a comic book series, or maybe you'll write a blog. Some of you will have smaller, shorter projects. Maybe you'll write a short story. Maybe you'll write a newspaper article, and then you'll continue to experiment with other forms, other ideas throughout the course of this year. So last Friday, we did planning and rehearsing, and we really fleshed out our vision for what our project is going to be. So, writers, today I want to teach you that as you progress in your independent writing journey, an important first step is going to be finding pieces that can serve as mentor texts. You're going to be faced with a lot of different types of writing that you're going to have to do both in education and outside of education, perhaps in a profession. For example, I remember the first time that I applied for a job and they asked me for something called a resume. And I wasn't too familiar with what a resume is, but I had a chance to look at a lot of different mentor texts. And I got a lot of different ideas about the information, the skills, the work history, the education that goes on a resume. And I was able to write and build my own. So you are going to have experiences where you're going to have to find your own mentor text throughout the course of your lives. So today we're going to look at how you can go about finding a mentor text. Where is it that you might look? And what kinds of information you might look for as you are analyzing and scrutinizing over a mentor text. So, as what happens a lot in our writer's journey, I was initially going to write on one topic. And the more I started to write in my journal, in my notebook, the more I kept coming back to another idea. And I wanted to write a memoir, especially since we're on the sort of heels of the anniversary of 9/11. And I was alive during that time. And I wanted to write about what that day was like for me. So I'm thinking that my writing is going to take on more of a memoir quality. I'm going to write a memoir. So I started by thinking about the memoirs that I have read that have been impactful for me, that I felt the writing, the craft, the voice was exceptional. And who comes to mind when I think about great memoirs are people like Michelle Obama. Her memoir, Becoming, was incredible. The descriptive, rich language that she used. I think about Trevor Noah's memoir, Born a Crime, where we have a great comedic voice that comes through, a persona in his writing. And I also think about a piece written by Eugenia Collar, called Marigolds. And that's the piece that I want to focus on for today's lesson. So in this piece, Eugenia recalls her hometown of her youth, and she uses so many great details, so many descriptive and specific adjectives to paint a picture of this setting of the story in readers' minds. When I think of the hometown of my youth, all that I seem to remember is dust, the brown, crumbly dust of late summer, arid, sterile dust that gets into the eyes and makes them water, gets into the throat and between the toes of bare brown feet. I don't know why I should remember only the dust. Surely there must have been lush green lawns and paved streets under leafy trees somewhere in town, but memory is an abstract painting. It does not present things as they are, but rather as they feel. And so when I think of that time and that place, I remember only the dry September of the dirt roads and grassless yards of the shanty town where I lived. So, what I love that's happening here is the writer is grounding us in a specific moment in time, a memory, and she's using these details to hook the reader and to transport us to this time in her life. So, that's something that I admire about the craft, and I want to try in my own writing.